Ladies and gentlemen of the hoop world, welcome back. In the zone, Pete Coles, Rich Sutter, the dynamic duo of the hoop world. We got it for you here, folks. We're rocking and rolling. I got my In the Zone t-shirt on again today.
That's pretty cool.
We're trying to get spring and summer accomplished here at the same time in Massachusetts. Trying to figure something out.
We have Mapril going on.
Mapril is what Pete called it last week.
I think it fits.
I think it does. Because it's been one big rough spot here going on with the weather. We'd have a few spectacular days, and then it just takes and goes a different direction. But, folks, that's why we're basketball people, because you can always go indoors and watch basketball. A lot going on. We have NBA playoffs right now. We have the Combine, the NCAA Combine, the people trying to get into the draft. We've had some shortenings, as we'll talk about. We talked about this last year. Guys who go in the Combine at 6'11", and when they come out after their anthropometric or whatever they call it, measurements with no shoes on, come out at 6'7". So we're going to go through some of that as well. Not a lot of surprises there. The Combine's on right now. We have been watching. Next week probably be a better week to give you some of that because we could give it to you more in totality. But it's been one day of play so far, and it's been okay. But usually we jump off with a segment called Pete's Corner. 1, 2, 3 punch from Pete. Comes out with a couple of questions from me. We do the best thing we can to put it back on the other side of the net. So let's go, Pete. 1, 2, and 3.
All right, question number 1. Now that his season is over, is he or isn't he?
A lot of chatter. About that. I had a feeling this was going to be your number 1.
Absolutely.
It's like, this is almost like pickleball for me right now. Is that the smash is coming over the net. It just wonders if it's going to hit your racket or it's going to hit your face right now. It's the only two things that we don't know. Okay? But I did anticipate this one, so I got a little racket on it. Stephen A. Smith. I mean, a lot of people. Now that the last Laker game has been played for the year, the question that Pete has, and we've been going through this a little bit.
In the Zone's been calling for it for quite some time now.
Yeah, I think it's been probably, if they went through and did our number 1 topic of conversation, especially if we did just
lately,
the NBA,
yeah,
this would be it. What are they going to do with LeBron in L.A.? In the broader picture, what are they going to do with LeBron in the NBA? Is there, from what I was getting, there was some unhappiness in the Laker locker room in general. And if my guess is, that if you've had unhappiness for 10 years, it might just be that one guy that's causing the unhappiness all the time because he has a very high expectation. He has a very high level of play that he's been able to play at. And sometimes those people are not the easiest to be around when you're really trying to do your best and really trying to carve out, your own niche. They a lot of times will suck all the oxygen out of the room, And so has that happened with the Lakers for the last umpteen years, Pete? And I believe that it has.
Yeah.
And right now, looking at his play, what I can say, and I've said it honestly, is there hasn't been a ton of diminishment in his play. But as Pete's alluded to also, there was some significant load management going on this year where he's kicked back and sat out a lot of games, to get ready for the playoffs, only to get swept by the Thunder anyway. So I say right now, let's get a little bit more numerical and a little bit more exact with it. I'm 60-40 that says he goes out of L.A. but does not stop playing.
Really?
Yeah. 60-40 that he winds up somewhere else. 60-40, I'm 70-30 that Giannis will wind up somewhere else. And that might take place right in and around this draft occurrence that's coming up as well, when you might have some picks and some other stuff offered, for the great Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's unhappy in Milwaukee and wants to have a chance to get another ring.
Do you think a Danny Ainge type trade could be made where, somebody secures picks for years to get a top tier player,
and takes either one. A lot of talk right now has been with the Bucks and the Celtics
ooh,
that Antetokounmpo would wind up in Boston.
wow,
Now, what is the other side of that? Is the part that I don't know that I've heard, knowing Brad Stevens as I do, as he's a pretty savvy guy in terms of making some of these trades and knowing when not to make some of these trades. I would say that, what are the expectations of the Bucks, to get back? Is it going to be Jason Tatum? I don't know that the Celtics
and draft picks,
and I would not offer any draft picks. If Jason Tatum was in the conversation, I say you take him, we take him, and that's it.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it, because I think Tatum right now is in the echelon of where Antetokounmpo is.
Okay.
As well as a player, I like Tatum a lot. I know there's a lot of rap on him, but I've always been a big Tatum fan, and I like him a lot. I think he's been a good pro. I think he's been a solid guy in Boston. That's not an easy town always to exist in.
Yep.
Jaylen Brown, would you give up Jaylen Brown? Do the Bucks want $50 million a year in Jaylen Brown? That makes him a little bit more difficult to include in trades, I think, because he probably makes more money than Giannis. And if you're the Celtics, you could make that trade. I would, if I was the Bucks, I wouldn't want to incur probably all of that much salary, although maybe the Celtics got to eat some of it. You never know, but it's a lot of salary anyway. I think that's where some of that chatter has been.
Okay.
So is LeBron it's almost like the coaching carousel as well. The more jobs that come open, you almost run out of those big names. But when you have one big name and then another big name, a lot of times that has a tendency to create some motion. So if you had LeBron and you had Giannis both going in there with significant amount of draft picks and significant amount of other personnel going to the other teams, that might really make some stuff in the NBA
move the needle a little
watching.
bit.
Yeah, it might give it some fluidity, and it might make it worth watching, because I'm assuming the Lakers would want a good bundle for him.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a lot of longevity right now, so you're paying for the absolute future that he has to offer. But again, who wants it? Who wants to jump in for all of that for what has to be considered a finite amount of time? Is it a year, 2 years, 3 years? I don't know how much longer he's going to play.
And you get the return on investment for his salary.
Yeah, and you're going to get all of the good stuff that comes with the
endorsements,
the marketing,
Yeah.
the gear that's going to be sold. I mean, he's still a machine like that, and I think that's why they would keep him around too. The NBA would keep him relevant. Does he go back to Cleveland?
Finish out
back in his terra firma? Does that give Cleveland a really good chance to win it all with Harden and LeBron and Mitchell? Do they need all of that? Would some of that have to be included in the trade for the Lakers to be satisfactory with it? So there's a lot at play here. I'm 60-40 that he goes, but he goes somewhere else. Giannis, I'm 70-30 that he's on the move too.
Yeah.
I really could see that happening. Now, what we're going to talk about later in the show is now we know everybody's draft position in the first round. You have the lottery stuff all picked out, and so you have that, and so you'll know now kind of what teams might be thinking also. If you just drafted Victor Wembanyama a year ago, 2 years ago, you might not need a big man.
Yeah.
If you just drafted Cooper Flagg last year as the number one, the Mavericks, they have a pick. What do they need? And so that comes into it, all of it. And then, it's also about positioning, and we're going to talk about that because they laid out all of the lottery picks this week. That was one of the things in concurrence with the draft combine that occurred this week. But good question, Pete. Let's move on to 2.
All right, question number 2. Now that the academic year is over for universities and colleges, do you think the NCAA will clear up their eligibility loopholes and rules and things like that and come out with kind of an ironclad, these are what you're going to operate for in the future?
I think they're ready to do that. I do. I think you're hitting the nail on the head here with your question. I think they are ready to do that. The question begs is what's going to happen after they do that? Because if they do 5 for 5, and it looks like they're going to do 5 for 5, you're eliminating a whole class of people that don't get that extra year. Now you're giving everybody 5 years to play 5 years. You know, the guys that got caught in that middle, there's one group of people in there that did not get, they got knocked out of COVID or they were still in that kind of realm where they didn't get the extra year. And everybody else pretty much has had a lot of access to that. So they would be, only one group would be getting squeezed. But now that there's a significant amount of money at play, you can be sure that there's going to be some lawsuits over that. Every step the NCAA makes right now is like watching an elephant in a minefield. Every step they take can get them blown up. Every step they take can get them into trouble. And right now, this is exactly what you're talking about, is one of those steps that could get them into a little bit of trouble, medium amount of trouble, or big, big trouble. It's going to be trouble no matter what happens because somebody's going to sue them. Somebody's going to say, hey, you took away my year. And some judge.
How about life isn't fair?
They're going to fine some judge. I get it, but you got to be fair to everybody.
No, you don't.
But
no, you really
only
don't.
have to be fair to everybody moving forward.
Yeah.
That's what I say, is that, these are the new rules now, and this is the group, and whatever happens, happens. And I don't think there was a way to grandfather them in and also talk about throwing havoc into all of the budgets that these teams have right now. Go ahead and load back their senior class 1 year and allow them to have access to those players. Yes, but now where's your scholarships at? Do you have to now get rid of 3 or 4 people that are on scholarship to make room for the guys that are coming back? Let's say you had 5 seniors. All got out, graduated, used up their eligibility, they're on their way, they're ready to go, and you got 5 seniors, and all of a sudden they go, wait, you can go back.
See, I don't think it would apply to anybody that's already graduated. These are the rules going forward.
It would apply to the people, I think, that are going out in this class, though.
No, because if they implement the rules today, the academic year is over. It wouldn't apply to any basketball players already.
They would somehow try and say that it should apply to them because they are in some way. I couldn't detail it for everybody specifically right now, but they are in some way being infringed upon. Now, all they got to do is get into court, and then the judges take it from there. I think just on legal ground, they're shaky. The NCAA is so shaky all the time on legal ground. For the most part, nobody ever sued them. Years ago, Ed O'Bannon cracked the nut, and everybody started ever since then knowing that they're easy money. You can go sue them, and it's going to be easy. Now, with Baker, he's this pretty savvy guy. He's been around this. He just throws up his hands and goes, we're not going to get involved in that because we're going to get sued. Or we were doing this just to avoid being sued. And I think that's where we're at right now. I think they're going to, try something that breaks out this legislation and really codifies what's going on with eligibility. And what's happening to these younger people they're getting squashed. Forget about this one group of people that, is now going to get obliterated and not have that extra year. Okay, I get people will have mixed feelings about that. But where the whole real thing for me has always been is these younger people that are in high school are getting absolutely obliterated and not getting looks, not getting scholarships, not getting NIL dollars. It's really, really pushed everything down and compressed things into a very unhealthy place. And the people that are really, really getting hit the most are the younger future people that are coming into this that have to now wait and then are going to be now facing a clock, right? That says you got to have it out by your 19th birthday, you got to have 5 years, and you better start, and here goes your clock. There's a lot there. There's a lot there. What happens and this is something that we've alluded to a little bit on the show, but what happens with BYU students that want to go out on mission? What goes on with any of those students that usually have a 2-year mission right in the middle of their time in school, then come back and have all of their eligibility? They'll have outrun their eligibility under the current constraints.
Service academies.
How about the service people when they go out? When you have seamen at Navy and Merchant Marine Academy, and these places have 180 days of sea time that they have to qualify for. They go out and get their seat time done. That's 180 days. It's quite a while, and then they come back, and now you're going to tell them they don't have eligibility as the same as everybody else. So they're going to have to look at it, and they're going to have to codify it, and they're going to have to work on it. It's not going to be easy, and there's going to have to be some carve-outs that you and I just talked about. Good question, Pete. Let's rock and roll.
All right, question number 3, another big topic that we talked about over the past 2 years. With NIL really expanding, do you see more coaches starting just to walk away from the business?
I think that's calmed down a little bit.
Okay.
And I think a lot of those guys, I'm going to say this now, and people can take it for what it's worth. I will tell you that, in my opinion, a lot of those guys didn't jump. A lot of those guys were pushed.
Really?
A lot of those guys were shoved. Okay, and I'm going to tell it to you like this, okay? You have sneaker companies that are talking to coaches about money that was needed in order to pay this player. Now, that formula has been alive since I've been in the game. Not always with the sneaker companies, but with the greenback and its ability to move around in those circles of great players, coaches, high school coaches, and college programs that had this triangulation going on forever. Some of the pieces of the triangle have been moved. Some of the pieces of the triangle have been eliminated and replaced with other pieces. But the triangle is still Bermuda. Straight up triangulation about how to make this whole thing work to the benefit of the people that are up top. All right? Now, let's go back just that quick second, because I'm going to get myself in trouble right here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Pete, you know I love to do it. All right? Who could order wiretaps? Because that stuff's been, I just illuminated, that stuff's been going on forever. Everybody knew that it was going on forever. They didn't vacate the Final Four at UMass, and they didn't vacate the Final Four at Memphis for nothing.
Right.
We knew that those things were going on, okay? Now they moved them around, and now they've done this and done that, all right? But who had the ability to call for wiretaps on something that had been going on for 40 years prior?
The federal government.
Exactly. Now, people are going to have to do a little bit of digging, but who became the head of the NABC? His name was Craig Robinson. Craig Robinson happens to be Michelle Obama's brother.
Really?
The big dog had a big interest in basketball. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm just going to leave it there. That thing didn't happen out of nowhere. And those coaches, because you see some coaches now that you would say, oh, we thought he was going to go. We thought he was going to jump. He doesn't like it. They've kind of settled into it. They don't have to do a whole lot with a whole lot of anything other than just collect their money, which is, as long as that keeps going on, those guys are going to stick around as long as they can. But the part of now the players getting paid and the revenue share and all that stuff, I think most of those guys have come to the consideration that that's part of it now, and they're going to have to live with it. But I think that what you're talking about has slowed down a little bit because it just, you could look at the sheer numbers.
Yeah.
And right after those wiretaps, that whole thing came out, then all that rash came, boom, 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 boom. Then you saw the NIL kind of kick in, which came a little bit later. So I would even say that your point is that also that some of those firings came, or I wouldn't call them firings, some of those retirees came before the NIL really kicked in and was in full throttle. Now maybe they saw what was coming and they wanted to jump out. I'm going to say that most of those guys, a good portion of those guys, did not jump. They were shoved.
Wow.
All right, Pete, that cleans us up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Nice job. All right. So we're going to the Power 8 right now, and we're going to talk about the playoffs 1, 2, 3 and cap it together. We've got an actual mock draft for you that I'm going to read out. Just to give you an idea of who they're talking about in the top. And I will tell you right now, the mock draft I'm going to read out, it will be significantly different than ours. I just want to throw that out there right now because I've been working on mine, and they're just missing. They miss every year. They're missing again. I got some great names. I got some great stars out there that should be way further up the line. I'll give you one of them right now, Yaxel Lendenberg. Should be much higher than what people are projecting. Player of the year, most likely, the Wooden Award winner. Came out of UAB, went to Michigan, led them all the way to the national title. He's way down on people, and he was one of the guys that measured out very well, almost 6'9". But let's stay with the NBA right now. We got OKC Thunder and the Knicks 1 and 2 in the punch right now. You've got the Knicks closing out the 76ers in really professional fashion. Really good job by them. They went into Philly and took game 3 and then just closed them out and did a really good job there with the series because right now they're getting rest. They're getting rest to the point where on ESPN this morning, there was a topic of discussion that said, are they getting too much rest right now? Because that series has a chance to go on for a little while longer. And the Knicks will be looking at, a good 10 days, maybe 2 weeks in between getting out there. So that's something that the coaching staff has to mitigate. That's something that they have to schedule and they have to be sequential with in order to make it work because that is a lot of time off right now. You wanted the time off, and now you got it. It's one of those things you wish for, and then they say be careful what you wish for. Same thing over on the other side with OKC, our 1 and 2 shot. They took the Lakers out 1, 2, 3, and this is why I would say for the Lakers, you have LeBron. You have him. And you had Luka, but it didn't look like Luka wanted to play with LeBron. Okay? But now you had LeBron, all right? And you got whacked. You got swept. You got broomed. Okay?
But is that a reflection of the Lakers, or is that just a reflection of OKC kicking butt?
I think it's a little bit of both, but where I'm going with this and where I'm trying to turn it is for the Lakers, if you're looking about do we keep him or do we let him go? That's basically what I'm alluding to right now. I'm saying you got to let him go because you don't have enough there right now, and that's been proven by the fact that you just got swept and swept easy by the best team in the league. So if you aspire to be as good as that team, you're not going to get there with LeBron James. You're not going to get there with the current contingent. What you have to do is take a step backwards, count Luka, and then jump and trade him, and hopefully you can get some nice pieces in order to fill in there. I think they're a couple of pieces away, from having a really good team. I think they could be really good. But, they have a big amount of money, almost $50 million tied up in him. They got some money tied up in his son, too. So you could make that move, and you could free up some space and bring in 3 quality players, I think, in that realm, and get yourself moving ahead with Luka and some of the other decent young players that they have. So that'll be the eye to keep on. If you're measuring it and you're the Lakers, if it comes out like that, you got to trade him. You got to get rid of him or retire him.
Right.
But you tell him it's time to go because we're not going to make it with you. And Luka doesn't want to play with you, it looks like. And so now we got to move you or move Luka. And they're not going to get rid of Luka and who they just brought in and gave up significant amount of territory and draft pick for. They gave up Anthony Davis there. Let's not forget that. But I think in the vein of it, when you measure it, and I'm giving the Lakers a little bit of advice, you got to trade them. All right, so I got them in the Knicks 1-2, OKC Thunder playing great basketball. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Holmgren's really developing into a superior big man pro. There's so many things that he can do. And the Knicks are number 2. We got the Spurs moved up to number 3. We're going to show you something that I sent to Pete in a little bit, and I hope we can pull it off. They're in the 3 spot. Wembanyama ejected the other night, and that's the part I wanted to show you. Cleveland Cavaliers are in the 4 spot. They had a huge win the other night in Detroit and popped them in the nose in Game 5. There's no other way to say it. All they were talking about was how the Cavaliers were 0-5 in their last road playoff games. They hadn't won in a while. They weren't getting it done on the road, and then they go into overtime the other night, and they do a great, great job in that game. Detroit played very well as well, too. But when I look at Detroit, I sit there now and I go, yeah, I get how they were able to do it, but then I look at their lineup and I go, that doesn't scare me. That doesn't scare me that much. If I'm the Knicks, I don't know who I want there. You know, do you want the Cleveland Cavaliers with Harden and Mitchell and that really good lineup? Or do you want to see the Pistons? And if I'm the Knicks, the Pistons gave them a hard time this year and gave them all they could handle last year. I don't know. That's a tough one to call. All right, so let's go with the Pistons in the 5 spot, them and the Cavaliers. But right there, that's a wrestling match. Right now, because they're in the 5 spot is because the Cavaliers flipped over and now they're on top of them and they're punching them in the nose. The Timberwolves in the 6 spot. The Spurs have held. Harper has been terrific. Castle has been terrific. Wembanyama caught a game where he got thrown out, and they were able to come back and not have any further suspension with him. They were able to recalibrate and come back. The 76ers and the Lakers in the 7 and 8 spot, they're gone. They're gone. They're out now. And 76ers, nice job, but the Knicks really gave them, you know, when they brought Embiid and George back, I was like, wow, this could be an interesting series. But the Knicks, to their credit, they're shooting the ball very well right now, the Knicks. And the 76ers, when Cat and Embiid got matched up, I thought that Cat got the best of that, and Embiid kind of backed out, missed a game because he was injured. But I think he gets injured a lot on those kind of circumstances. Now you got playoffs. Thunder and Lakers, boom, see you later, boom, boom, take out the broom, they're out 4-0. Knicks move over and take the 76ers, boom, boom, take out the broom. The Knicks put them away in 4-0. Cavs right now and the Pistons, 3-2 with the Cavaliers in the lead. That's going to be an interesting Game 6 because it's going to take place in Cleveland. Cleveland has a chance to polish them off. Detroit fighting for their lives, hopeful to get back for Game 7. Find themselves in a bad spot right here. And the Spurs and the Timberwolves. The Spurs are up 3-2. Same scenario, except the Timberwolves are going home to fight for their lives and see if they can turn around and make it into a Game 7. Right now, the Spurs have the hammer there. Let's talk about a little bit of baselines, Pete, as we close up here. Much to the discontent of the end zone people, we had a bottle of champagne ready for it, but it didn't crack. Steve Kerr is going to be back for 2 more years with the Warriors. We were hoping that he would pack it in, and they offered him an extension. He's going to stay with the team. LeBron, last Laker lament. That's what Pete and I talked about. We'll see. We're in the 60-40, 70-30 range. I think Luka gave us a little bit of load management going into next year. He just sat out the playoffs. It's amazing with some of these guys right now. Oh, I don't like this guy. Getting paid an awful lot of money. If you're healthy, you better suit up. All right. But again, as I talked about, the sweep by OKC shows how far away the Lakers really are. All right, Pete, I sent you a clip in the email. Do you think we can pull up this clip?
Never got the email, but I got Wemby's elbow?
Yes, sir. Okay, I sent it to your Gmail, so maybe it slipped in there. But let's put it up there.
The rebound. Elbow. That's what got elbow by Victor. And we got a tie up with McDaniels.
Run it back for me one more time, Pete.
Who took the elbow?
Hold on 1 second.
Everybody.
Look at this. That is awful. That is absolutely awful. Look at Derek Harper, Dylan Harper's face in the background there. He can't believe it. Now, what Pete's not able to show in this clip is the 2 times that they hit him before. They fouled him. But those are fouls. You do get fouled from time to time. The ref didn't call it, and that also happens from time to time. But that expression of frustration from Wembanyama, very, very surprising. It was a little also surprising to me that he was surprised by his ejection, that he was surprised that would get you, that went to the level of ejection, okay?
Well, what he figured is if they're not going to call the stuff on him, I think the retaliation was over the top.
No question. No question. He gets hit a lot. He's a big guy. They let him hit him a lot. But you had two guys slapping at his wrist. Another guy bumped him. But then turn around and do that. That's dangerous. It's dirty, and I don't like it. We have dirty Draymond, and we don't like him.
Coming around with an elbow like that, you can break somebody's neck.
You can break some. You could really hurt somebody if that caught up in his temple in the wrong way. You can break his jaw. You could knock him out of the playoffs. It's just dirty, and I was surprised at it by Wembanyama. Frustration, I get it, but that was dirty, absolute dirty. So we have dirty Draymond in the zone. We also have dirty Dylan from Dirty Dylan Brooks, but now we're going to add a third one, Pete. Vicious Victor Wembanyama. It's just like wrestling in here right now, but there's like the vicious elbow to the face, and that was no bueno. No bueno. No place for that. That's not professional. It's actually dirty. And if that was my schoolyard in the Bronx, you would have emptied the place out. It would have been a melee. Okay. The Cavs come back against Detroit. Max Strus hit 6 threes, 6 out of 8 in three-point range. And the Detroit Pistons burned a really good game by Cade Cunningham. 39 points, 9 rebounds, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. Great game. Cunningham, excuse me, he's emerging. He's emerging into one of the great players in the NBA right now. Okay, the NBA is defending an 11% rise in foul calls during the playoffs. Me being able to call this the Phantom of the Opera. There's just nobody getting hit out there.
Now they call it.
But nobody's even getting hit. I mean, they used to let LeBron and SGA practically call their own, but this is way, way beyond the pale. I don't know if there's gambling involved. I don't know if they're just that bad, but this is really, I'm watching the game and I'm going, what are you looking at? You know, the level of contact that they don't call and then the level of non-contact that they do call, it's maddening right now. Something has to change. They're getting a lot of heat. Jaylen Brown, he got $50 million, so he don't care that they hit him with a $25,000, $50,000 price tag. He don't care. Okay, but they're starting to get hit now, and it's bad. OG Anunoby expected back. That would be big for the Knicks. He went out with an injury. Hopefully they're going to get him back. The NBA draft people are in trying to fix their tanking problem that they have, and they're talking about a 3-2-1 program where the 3 worst teams don't get the strongest chance to be at the number 1. It's mind-numbing. It's classic NBA. We suckism, and they're taking it to a new level. I love it. I love it. All right. I got a couple of different things that I wanted to share here, but I wanted to just break off with this one because this is a pretty cool story. All right. We got a guy out there by the name of Aaron Nkrumah. Aaron Nkrumah started off at Nichols College.
Okay.
Good Division III player.
Yep.
Then made my life miserable when he transferred into Worcester State and wound up leading them to 2 consecutive championships. I believe we lost both of those. Okay? But he gets his name in the portal after leaving Worcester State. Thank God for that. And he goes in and goes to Tennessee State.
Okay.
Winds up in the NCAA tournament this year. They got throttled in the first round, but he wound up having 20-plus points and just a really, really good story of somebody that we knew and went up. Well, the story just got better because he went to a G League combine, played very, very well down at that combine, and they invited him up to the actual NBA combine right now.
No
so
kidding.
A guy who started off D3 at Nichols and then played in our league at Worcester State now is getting into an NBA combine, and they have all these different things that they do there where they do a vertical leap, they do all these different bounds and all this other stuff. Aaron Nkrumah won the shuttle of the year. He was the fastest shuttle time out there during the combine. He played very, very well the other night. I don't know if he's going to get drafted. I think we're going to put him on our draft board for sure. But I don't know if he's going to get drafted, but he seems like he has a pretty bright future in front of him, and he's in the combine right now trying to make good. So that's a really, really cool story I wanted to share with our listeners. Okori from Stanford, Henry Visar from North Carolina. Right now you have this time where all of the early entrants are in, but they have time in order to get out. And so you're going to see some of that right now, and this is one of the finer negotiation points that the NIL has brought around. Because if you want to get your current team, Henry Visar is at North Carolina, all right? He wants to get his current team fired up about negotiating with him and saying, okay, we're going to give him more money to come back. All you got to do is go in the draft thing, go to the combine, play well. Now your price tag just went up.
Yeah.
Right before that date, you're now going to have that negotiation with your college team that says, okay, what's the offer look like? And then you're going to go back to the NBA teams and you're going to say, okay, where's my position? And Visar and Okori are staying in, is what they've said to us. That could change, I think, but they're saying they're staying in. Okay, good news. Good news for college ranks because I think that some of these guys got to get out. You know, it's good news they're going in the draft because I think the draft is going to start to weaken if this doesn't normalize a little bit. All right, extension for Coach McCollum at Iowa. Nice job. He got a great job this year. He got a year's extension, and he also got $1 million raise. Darren Peterson blaming creatine for the cramps that he was having during the year, saying that it was his creatine usage, and also kind of laid out that this was a lot more serious than they let on, and where he was almost or had to be hospitalized at one time. Okay, you got expansion fallout right now. You got some fallout from the expansion that they decided to up the NCAA tournament, grow it again. They went to play-in games. Now they're growing it again, and most people don't like it. But what I've noticed is that we now have a college basketball and an NBA. The NBA was there for a while, but now we have an echo chamber. Because no matter what they do, no matter how much it sucks, you got a bunch of guys who jive on their sword and go, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. It's amazing. They do whatever they're told to do. They write whatever they're told to write, and they get paid very well for it. But don't act like you're some kind of investigative reporter when you're just taking the information they tell you to write and writing it down.
Yeah.
You know, and never breaking with the paradox, never breaking with the organizational flow of what's going on. That's the problem today also. And you see it also when we're approaching the draft, because some of this is so metric driven right now, and you got all of these guys out there with the same mock draft. It all looks the same. And it can't all be the same. When you have a lot of people that are offering an opinion, if it's a true opinion, you're going to have differing opinions. The fact that it's all the same right now is this sudden coagulation that bothers me. I'm just going to leave it at that. All right. Pete, the combine, a couple of guys, Cameron Carr, looked very, very good, the young man out of Baylor. Here's a name for you, Pete. And this guy right now, I would say he is skyrocketing up the draft boards because a lot of people, I saw him during the year, I liked him a lot. I don't know what these people are looking at. Not even in our mock draft that we're going to read off right now. And I guarantee you this guy gets drafted in the top 15. Baba Miller out of Cincinnati. Jacoby Gillespie played well from Tennessee. Nick Martinelli played very well as well. We'll keep an eye on that and give you more. All right, here is your NBA draft odds. They are broken out, and now the draft has been done, and the first 14 picks are aligned for you. We're going to give them to you right here in the zone, folks. The number 1 pick went to the Wizards. The Washington Wizards made a big trade for Anthony Davis. They have Trae Young sitting ready to go. They have a bunch of young talent on that team with Alex Sarr, Coulibaly, the young man they brought in last year from Texas, Trey Johnson. They've got a lot of good talent on that team. Now they're going to get the number 1 pick. To me, everybody, it's seemingly that they're kind of settled on having A.J. DeBonsa be the number 1 for them. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Number 2 is the Jazz. They slid right in there. They got a chance to get better. They had the number 3 last year. They got the number 2. Let's see if they can put it to good use. The Wizards had a 14% chance of getting the number 1. The Jazz had 11.5% chance. The Grizzlies, there's the Grizz at number 3. They just picked up Zach Edey. They picked up some good players. I wouldn't be surprised to see Ja Morant on the move, that would be a good move for them. Get him out, get some other players in there, young, get ready to move this franchise and take that number 3 pick, which could be Cameron Boozer right now, and make it run. Now, the Wizards also have 51 and 60, so they get the number 1, but then they don't go till late in the second round with their other 2 picks. The Grizzlies have number 3, 16 and 32, not bad. All right, the Bulls, they go out at 4. They had a 4.5% chance of winning it all. They also show up with 15, 38, and 46. That's going to be an interesting scene to see who falls to them, because it seems like everybody has their 4 or their 5 that's all set and ready, but now you got to figure out what's going to fall. Where are they going to take them? Where are they going to go? Who's that player that's going to fall? And that's where it's really going to be most critical, is in that 4 and 5 spot, I believe. The Clippers from the Pacers, they're in the 5 spot. The Nets are in the 6th spot. They had a 14% chance of getting number 1 and wound up 6th. And they are 33 and 43 later on in the second round. The Clippers don't have any more picks after that. The Kings are 7th. Maybe they can add to Max Renard because they go 7th, but then also 34 and 45. The Hawks from the Pelicans, they go there at 8, and then 23 and 57, a chance to make some money. The Mavericks, 46 also. They're going 9, then they're going 46. The Bucks are 10. They're not going to get any help for Giannis at 10. They don't have any picks after that. Look for Giannis to get traded. Look for them maybe to get into that echelon where they're looking for some better draft picks than what they have right now with 10. Maybe keeping 10 or making 10 part of the Antetokounmpo trade. Warriors 11, and they also have 54. That's a big, big weight in between, but 11, you might be able to get somebody pretty good there. OKC is at 12. They get richer and richer. They drafted Thomas Sorber last year, and they had him basically out on a redshirt year, so it'll be interesting to see exactly where they go right now. Their drafting has been terrific. The Heat are in the 13th spot, and they also go at 41. They had a 4.8% chance of getting the number 1, and now at 14, you have the Hornets going in, and they are also, the Hornets will get 14 and also get 18. So there's a chance for them to go bang, bang and get something pretty good right there. Here's the mock draft. This is not mine. Okay? This is not mine. I want everybody to know it right now because this one's okay. I took it just because it was the first that came up when I punched in mock draft. I wanted to see what other people were thinking and give it to you, especially now that the picks are out. And then I can shoot an opinion in there for you a little bit on the go. All right, so they have the Wizards. They have A.J. DeBonsa. There's a couple of other pieces I want to add here because the measurements are done as well. How big is DeBonsa? Did he lose? Did he gain? Did he get bigger? Did he get smaller? It always happens in these things, and that will have some people's value. Drew Tim being one of them out of Gonzaga, came out at 6'11", and then measured him at 6'7" and change, and that hurt his draft position significantly.
Sure,
So You're not going to see a whole lot of that here, but it was good to see that some of those numbers stayed. DeBonsa is 6'8.5". That's a great number because if you look at the NBA right now, there's not a lot of guys under 6'4" that are doing great. There's not a lot of guys that are in that range. There's not a lot of those smaller guys that are eating up those spots. A lot of it because of defensive. If you look at the Pistons starting lineup last night, and you could go with Dennis Jenkins, who's probably about 6'5", but then everybody else was 6'8" or above. Tobias Harris, all of them, Durant, everybody up above. So they're really, really getting bigger in the NBA, and that seems to be a trend. Keep an eye on that. The Jazz, number 2, they're saying Darren Peterson. I'd say no way. Right there, I would not. But they have him at 6'4.5" as well. The Grizzlies at 3, Cam Boozer. I think this is not as a mysterious pick as everybody thinks. He's out of Duke, and I get some of the reservations that people have about his game. Because when he played against people that were his own size and that could match his level of physicality, he didn't have the greatest games. I can attest to that. But he shoots the ball very well. He's got an NBA-ready body. He's 6'8" only and a quarter, though. I didn't have him at 6'10". He's not 6'10 and a half. He's 6'8 and a quarter. That's going to matter. And I don't know if it's going to hurt his draft position, but that's where everybody has him kind of locked into that 3 spot. I would, when I put it all together, I just don't know. I think there's other guys out here to look at. I really do. Number 4, the Bulls, they're saying Caleb Wilson, 6'9 and a quarter.
Wow.
I was shocked. I was going to be in a 6'6 range on him. That moves him up for me. I was really, really curious to see where I would put him. I think I'm going to go to Bonzo 1, and I'm going to put him number 2. But I'll get back to you on that. Number 5, this guy has climbed up a lot, and I just don't know if it's warranted. At 5, I think is way too high. You have the Clippers taking Ade Mara, who was at UCLA, transferred to Michigan, turned it into a final championship run, took the whole thing, no doubt about it, but he was on a loaded team. He's 7'3", though. That's what you can't teach. He's 7'3". I just think this could be a little bit high for him in the 5 spot. I'm going to say that right now. The Nets at 6, they'll mess it up, Pete. That's the first thing you know, they'll mess it up. Keaton Wagler at 6'5", I wouldn't do it. He's a one-hit wonder, and I wouldn't do it. And he measured out at 6'5". I would give some consideration, especially to the Nets also getting with the NBA formula of getting bigger, getting a taller team. They have to get bigger. Up front, in their forward areas, they got to get bigger. That's what I would do. It wouldn't be Wagler for me. But Wagler can really, really shoot the ball. Number 7, the Kings, Darius Acuff. This is going to be really interesting to see where he goes because he measured out at 6'2". I would say he was one of the best guards in the entire country. But what I say also in that vein, and this is for all of our general managers and NBA people that might be watching, the trade-off is less when a guy is that size. Because you got LeBaron Phelan, you got a bunch of other guys that are in that size range that could be just as good as him. Let's be honest. You got Kingston Flemings, you got some other guys in here, so you might want to delay on Acuff a little bit because of the size factor. But if you think you got to have him, I think that's a little bit high, personally, 7. But I'm going to see how it shakes out. He's got a couple of teammates that I might look at before I would draft him. Might look at Trayvon Brazell, who people don't even have in the first round before I would want Acuff. But we'll look at it. Kingston Flemings at 8 to the Hawks. I can go with that. I don't know. He's a good guard. 6'2 and a half only, though. That's my reservation with him and with Acuff. They're going to get bullied on defense. Mavericks taking Michael Brown, 6'3 and change. I wouldn't do it. I would back some of these guys up. Another, right there, those 3 in a row are all one-hit wonders. They could be my Sharona, or they might not be. They might be a one-hit wonder, or it might be a star, or they might just burn out. And there's a lot of that burnout stuff more than seeing those one-hit wonders blow up at under 6'2 and above. Let's see. He comes in at 6'3 and a half, but he's not a point guard in my mind. He's going to have to play the off guard, and that's not a good size for somebody that's doing that. The Bucks have him Yexa Lenenberg at 10, 6'8", 0.75, almost 6'9". Move him up. NBA people, listen to me. Move him up your board. He's got to go higher. Braden Burries from Arizona to the Warriors. He goes out at 6'3", 0.75, almost 6'4". Great athlete, really good talent. I would move him down. Thunder taking LeBaron Phelan. I'd be shocked if the Thunder took LeBaron Phelan here at this pick. I would be very shocked if they took him at 12. He measured out at 6'2 and a half. They have SGA at 6'5", 6'6". They got other players there. They have Holmgren at 7'3". They have Sorber sitting out at 6'11". I just don't see it. Jaden Acquaintance, 6'9". We call him Jaden Acquaintance for the amount of time that he spent on the floor this year at Kentucky. The Heat at 13. I guess if you're talking about his talent, yeah, you could say that. If you're talking about his vibe and his go-get-it and
work ethic,
work ethic and Darren Peterson in the same breath, I'd be careful with both of those guys. I absolutely would. Nate Ament, 6'9 and a half. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm taking Baba Miller over Nate Ament right now, twice on Sunday. I'll tell you that right now. I like Ament. I think he's a first-rounder, but I think people are missing on some of these guys. And that young man, Cam Carr, also had a great day yesterday in the Combine. You're going to see him go up. They have him 15th here to the Bulls, 6'4" and change, 6'4" and a half. I don't know. They got Ament at 6'9" and a half. He's almost 6'10". I like that because he does have some guard skills, but he has to get a whole lot stronger. Kareem Lopez, the first foreign player that's taken here, that's been a change. Usually the foreign players are much higher. He's 6'8" and a quarter. From Mexico, they have him going to the Grizzlies. I have no idea. The Thunder, Chris Senack, the freshman out of Houston, kind of an okay year for him. I would like to see him come back, but it looks like he's going to stay in the draft. But he is 6'10" and a quarter, and that matters. He's a big man. Hornets are going to take Bennett Sturts at 18 if they're going to keep with their Caucasian invasion. I guess they would do that. 6'2.5". He's a little small. He's going to have a trouble on defense, but he is a little bit like Peyton Pritchard in that mold. He's going to work hard. He's going to get after it. He's going to be a really solid team guy. I could see it there, maybe a little bit lower. 19, the Raptors, Hans Steinbach. People are very high on him throughout the year. He's big, 6'11", 6'10" and change. He's got some skill, too. The Spurs, Koa Pete, 6'7". That's a guy that lost some height. That's a guy that shrunk. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Koa Pete. And I would not be surprised to see him pull his name out and go back to Arizona. I'm going to throw that out there for our fans right now. The Pistons, Alan Graves, 6'7" and 7'5", so he's almost 6'8" at 21. I want to tell the Pistons right now, Alan Graves isn't going to be there. You're not going to get him. He's going to go higher. Somebody's going to take him higher than that. Definitely belongs higher than that. Okay. Isaiah Evans to the 76ers at 22. That would be an okay pick. That wouldn't be bad. Isaiah Evans got a pretty bright future in front of him, I think. The Hawks, they're slated to take Morez Johnson. That would give Michigan 3 draft picks in this first round. And I think there's no way that he's going to fall out of the first round. Mara won't. Lendenborg won't. Yaxel Lendenborg won't. So you're going to have 3. You might get another one, too. You never know. He's 6'9", Morez Johnson. The Knicks, Dalen Swain, 6'6" and a half. Again, to the Knicks at 24. Don't wait for Dalen Swain. Just like Alan Graves, they're both not going to be there. They're going to be way up on our draft board. I like both of those young men a really good bit. They're not going to be there at that level. No way. Lakers, he's staying in. Henry Visar, he was listed at 7'1", 7'2". They got him 6'11" and a quarter. Good size, good touch, good feel. Got some skills. I think he'll be an NBA solid player. They got the Nuggets, Ibuka, Okori. This is where I was a little surprised that both of them, Okori and Visar, said they were staying in, and they're at 25 and 26, and I think that's pretty accurate. Maybe Okori a little higher, but I don't see Visar going any higher than that, maybe a little bit. But, that's 25, 26. I don't know. I think North Carolina and Stanford might pay better. Celtics taking Amari Allen. I don't know, out of Alabama. I'd be surprised, but they might. Timberwolves, Christian Anderson, another guy was 6'4", 6'5" almost when he went to the Combine. He came home 6'1". And he's a great shooter, but I'd be surprised if somebody's going to take him. He's probably might be one of the best shooters in the whole draft, no question about it, but I'll be interested to see. Cavaliers, Tunde Yesufu out of Baylor, him and Cam Carr, both very, very solid, and they're both going to go in the first round. He's only 6'4" and a quarter, though. That was a little surprising to me. And the Mavericks at 30, they're going to take Malik Thomas, 6'3". He's the other guard out of Arkansas that John Calipari has. I'm going to give you some quick dates, and I'm going to save the rest of this for next week. May 10th through 17th, where we are right now, NBA Draft Combine is going on. Check it out on your television. The basketball's been pretty good. June 13th is the deadline for early entry withdrawal. So if you're an early entrant and you can go back to school, that's your deadline for getting out. Set your clock, fellas. You better get out. June 23rd is round 1, and June 24th is round 2 of the NBA draft. One of my favorite days of the year. Pete, we did it. Another show. Up and down the boulevard we go. We'll see you next week, folks, as we get closer to the draft. I'm going to have to give you a date for ours. Just, knowing that theirs is in that date range now, we're going to pick the early part of June for our draft as well. Super pumped and excited about that. Folks, we'll see you next week in the zone, baby.